the Princess of Wales found putting on that show of unity after the Queen's death, walking around Windsor, how that was the hardest thing she'd ever had to do. And I was reminded that Catherine is not the actress. It's Meghan Markle that's the actress, and Catherine put on a much more stoic show. She was much more strong, and she just looked
Really, yeah, very much. I thought she was.
a lot of dignity, and she looked a lot more comfortable in that position than Meghan did on that day. As I hate
That's
to.
true. Yeah, I think that is true. I mean, I think she was more sure-footed that day.
First of all, congratulations on the book. I got to see a few pages of it, and you found, without a doubt, my favorite subject in the entire world and created a beautiful book about it. So congratulations, Catherine, the Princess of Wales. It's coming out here in the States, August the 6th. I hope you're so proud of it, because it's just a wonderful description of a fierce young woman who one day we look forward to seeing as queen.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to give the bigger picture about Kate. A lot of people like to sort of grab at the headlines, and that's what happens with serialization. But really, it's when you read the book as a whole, it's talking about her as a whole and the person that she's become from, when she was a kid through to the current day. And we're talking about somebody that's had a pretty unremarkable background in terms of us, but in terms of the royal family, this is a woman that will play a pivotal role going forward. Her kids are all born princes and princesses. Her husband was born a prince. Her father-in-law was born destined to be a king. That she was a girl that went to work on a double-decker bus, and so she's crucial to making sure that the monarchy stays in touch with the people that they serve. I mean, because she has been very much one of them. Her grandfather, let's face it, was a painter and decorator. There's a lot written about trying to beef that up, but that's what he was, and that's a great profession. So was my grandfather. So she's in touch with reality. That's the point.
I had no clue that she grew up, kind of culturally, she was in a blender, and how wonderful. Like, as a child, learning Arabic, I mean, that
Yeah.
had to have shaped how welcoming she is, how eager she is to learn, new things. What surprised you about her childhood?
Exactly that. I think what was great about my mum and dad is they were open to going to live somewhere else. So dad got offered a job in Jordan, which is a great country. I've been there myself. And they were able to live there and be part of that culture. So that one morning they'd be reading from the Bible, one morning they'd be listening in childish tales, about the Quran, and other about something else. So I think that was quite interesting. That's probably why she spent so much time focused on early learning, because in that first years between 1 and 5, you do pick up so much. And hers was, as you say, very culturally diverse and in a different country. And so therefore, I mean, to put it bluntly, all this talk of racism that came up later from Meghan Markle was utter baloney. This is a girl that's very diverse, comes from a very diverse education and diverse experience. So there's no way that would even enter her head. So that was all. I think as a kid to grow up in the way she did, it was fantastic.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that too. And you make that point in the book, how kind of ridiculous all of those accusations are. And I'm grateful for you. Of course, you're talking about some of these serializations and the headlines they're making. One of the big ones is the idea that Prince William has been asked to sign a waiver when it comes to flying in the helicopter with his family. You say not only did the Queen have an issue with this, but also King Charles. I do think that it's been kind of sensationalized. You say yourself within the book, after being diagnosed with cancer, King Charles, perhaps reminded of his own mortality, echoed his late mother's concerns. So basically, you're just saying King Charles is thinking about the future. He is focused on the future, and this is not necessarily a fist fight going on behind the scenes. He just wants Prince William to know the reality of maybe some safety concerns.
Well, I think by making him sign a waiver, what you're doing is focusing his mind by saying that you shouldn't really do it. And we'll wait and see if he continues to do it. I mean, I know the Queen raised the issue with him and was quite disappointed when he flew his whole entire family up to Norfolk. on one occasion, because she said you have to think about the succession. Well, think about the succession. If something terrible did happen, and helicopter crashes have happened. I mean, we've seen so many very high-profile people that situations like that have happened, and the chances of survival for something like that are pretty slim, as we've seen with in the past. Um, so the succession will be an issue, wouldn't it? It'll be Harry, that will be King Harry and Queen Meghan. So that's a reality of it. That is what would be in terms of the line of succession if everyone was to perish. So I don't think they're being over the top. They're just saying that the heir to the throne and the spare to the heir, the next one in line, shouldn't really travel, and that's him and Prince George. But of course, that makes it difficult when he wants to take him to, say, I don't know, going to watch the football, on an aeroplane together. I think that's not really the issue. The aeroplanes, it's the helicopter. And I think that the king was just conscious that if William is going to do it, then he has to then take full responsibility. So he feels that he has raised that issue in an appropriate way. I think it wasn't a direct confrontation with his father. I think it was one of the aides who approached with this waiver, and I think that sort of upset him a little bit. But it's bang on, yeah.
Yeah, and it's protocol. I feel like they've always tried to separate the heir, and then like little Prince George, that just seems like something that has happened forever.
Makes common sense, really.
Yeah. So
I think the king's being correct in what he's saying, as
I
was the late Queen. Yeah.
the one passage that I have been sharing like crazy, I sent it to my parents at 6 o'clock in the morning yesterday. I'm sure that they really appreciated waking up to that. And I'm like, just like my face hurts from smiling about it. You have details about William and Catherine's wedding night. You write, as they stood grinning and holding hands in the middle of the room, the opening bars of the song, You're the One That I Want, suddenly boomed out. To their friends' delight, William and Catherine launched into the dance of the lead characters from the film Grease, mouthing the words and pointing at each other. And then you're just so sweet. You say, Prince William finally found the one that he wanted.
Mm.
I love that part. That was it painted such a fun image, visually stimulating image of these two, wild, carefree, loving a movie we all love, loving a song we all love. Do you have any other details from that night? And
Well, I mean, I think that really sums up how much fun they were having. I mean, they
yeah,
were very young. They'd been together nearly pretty much a decade actually when they got married. But the point of it is they were able to be relaxed. And I think that in private they are just quite carefree people and let their hair down. And that night was a great night for that, and the lot that was surrounded by all their family and friends. And you can only wish William and Catherine the world of love and happiness, because I think that in the last, that moment, it reminds us of a time which was a little bit more carefree. They were further down the pecking order. The Queen was still around. It was a very different time. And what we've seen since in the last 3 or 4 years, a lot of weight and responsibility has been, on William. He was totally crestfallen when he found his dad had got cancer. Then he finds his wife is treated as well. He's had to face a lot of responsibilities. So it's nice to remember, I think, the carefree times that they had, and they did. They had a lot of special carefree times, and they were able to enjoy that period. Let's just hope, they're still able, as young as with the young family to raise. They still have time to spend with them as well, in terms of not being weighed down too much by responsibility until that moment comes when they're king and queen.
absolutely. Yeah, you're right. That has been interrupted. They had a rhythm. We saw they were very protective of their family time, and that was, kind of interrupted over the last year because of illnesses. You blew my mind with the revelation that Catherine almost rejected the Princess of Wales title, Diana's title. You talk about the pressure you're under when you marry one of Diana's sons, and how you're constantly compared to Princess Diana, whether it's your wardrobe, whether it's the charities you pursue, the way you engage with children. And you say the Princess of Wales, Catherine, did not want to add another element to her day-to-day life that would force that comparison. why do you think ultimately she did choose to take the
I
princess?
think that when she was not really wanting it was when it was sort of 2016, 2017. I think at that time, the weight of Diana, the ghost of Diana, if you like, it would weigh heavily on the mind of Camilla. There's no way, even though she should have been the Princess of Wales, she was going to take that title. And the same with Catherine. I think she thought it's too much. I mean, she's too big a character. But I'd spell out right at the end of the book that there's only been about 10 or 11 princesses of Wales, and that's if you include the Duchess of Cornwall, Camilla, in the whole of British history. So, which seems strange considering it's the wife of the heir to the throne. I think that when it came to it, and the transition had gone through with the king, and that actually went very, very smoothly compared to what I think a lot of people thought. I think then it was the speed of everything that happened. There was not much time to think about it. The king then made his son the Prince of Wales immediately. There was no delay. Remember when he was 10, 11 when he was made Prince of Wales, the king. So he wasn't always the Prince of Wales at birth. He was created that by the Queen. And so I think that what happened was that once that happened so quickly, then it was a fait accompli for Catherine. You will be the Princess of Wales. And I'm sure she would have probably been a bit nervous because the last person, frankly, was the most famous and most photographed woman in the world. And her life, ended tragically. And she's always a figure in people's hearts and memories. So it would have been a quite tough idea. But I think she thought, I have to do this to support my husband. It's the right thing. He is now the Prince of Wales. But I think initially, early on, I'm told that she was not very happy about the island. Not happy, conscious of the
Mm.
issues that could arise.
Absolutely. I cannot imagine that kind of pressure. I mean, every day she walks out of her house, she might be wearing polka dots, and some photographer finds 30 pictures of Diana wearing polka dots. And she's like,
Happens all the time.
just wanted to
Yeah.
wear a cute outfit today. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I do wonder behind the scenes if there was some resentment from Prince Harry when Catherine was given that title. Do you think that there might have been? I look at it, I
I
see
think
it.
there's an inevitability when he looks at it, but of course, and again, what it does is it pushes him further away in terms of being Diana's son. It's a bit like Prince Andrew, really, another way. Being the Queen's second son is a big thing. Being Diana's son is a big thing. But as you can then go further down the pecking order, it's now focused on William and his wife and their children, and there's more and more distance between these people and their closeness to the crown, and I think that then they become less important. Really, they're less relevant, and I think there's no doubt that Harry is becoming less relevant. He's constant whinging. He's whinging about the latest thing on the press, where he's whinging about everything. Basically the press called his breakup with his family. Well, I don't think so. I mean, there's a lot of things that caused the breakup with his family, not least his own decision to leave and his own decision to trash them and then to write stuff about them in his book. So I think that,
Trash them in the media. It's like, yeah, the
yeah.
media might have
So I
caused
think
this,
it's
but
all
you
a bit
really do.
silly. It's all a bit silly to say that somehow that they're to blame. But I think what he's become, I think what this cancer issues, both the king and Catherine's shown, is that the people can't be bothered with the drama, the noise around the Markles. I call them the Markles, between Harry and Meghan, because it's just too much bother. It's too much drama, and I think people have had enough of it. Really.
That's the damn truth. All right, you talk about how Catherine is this really soothing presence when it comes to the Prince of Wales, Prince William, and King Charles. In the book, it specifically says, I believe this is one of your sources, she is somebody who always tries to see both sides of any dispute, adding that emotion. She is an emotionally mature princess that's a stabilizing influence. Do you think that there was a time where the Princess of Wales tried to navigate Prince Harry's feelings more so than she probably does now? Or did Harry and Meghan come out guns blazing to the extent that the palace and the Wales family immediately had to go to protection mode? She wasn't really able to be considerate of their feelings because there were immediate accusations. So I mean, you talk about recollections may vary. I mean, did they immediately have to go into protection mode? And Catherine,
Yeah, I mean the attacks came really essentially from Oprah Winfrey's interview. That interview then they're coming thick and fast,
Mhm.
And I think that for history's sake, I think that they all had to react in a certain way, in a mature way, and realize, yeah, okay, there may have been mistakes that have happened, but some of these claims and counterclaims are utterly ridiculous. We do not want to get involved in a slagging match, but at the same time, we don't want to leave ourselves open to saying that just because we haven't countered these claims, they are in some way true. So it's a difficult balance not to be seen to get involved in a slagging match, but also condoning somebody's claims by not reacting to them. So I think that they did that very cleverly. She's a solution finder. There's no, I think that no doubt that her and Harry got on very, very well. When the pre-Meghan, but obviously things went very badly awry between him and his brother, and obviously she's going to support her husband, which is the right thing to do. And I don't think there's an awful lot in terms of the idea of them coming back or any reconciliation. I just, they're too far away. They're not really relevant in any way to William and Catherine's lives.
I agree. I don't see the value in it at this point while they seem to be so
Okay.
stuck in the past.
Yeah, they are. But I don't think there's any value going forward really much because, there's been too much water under the bridge. There's too many claims and counterclaims. And, I think when she walked with them after the Queen's death and they did that walk, meeting the crowds, and she said it was the hardest thing she ever had to do. I should imagine it probably was pretty tough given what had gone on. And yeah, at the end of the day, no, there's not going to be any reconciliation. I wouldn't think.
Yeah, you wrote beautifully about how the Princess of Wales found putting on that show of unity after the Queen's death, walking around Windsor, how that was the hardest thing she'd ever had to do. And I was reminded that Catherine is not the actress. It's Meghan Markle that's the actress, and Catherine put on a much more stoic show. She was much more strong and she just looked
Really, yeah, very much. I thought she was.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of dignity, and she looked a lot more comfortable in that position than Meghan did on that day. As I hate to.
That's true. Yeah, I think that is true. I mean, I think she was more sure-footed that day. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, talking about Meghan, I had never heard this. This was a huge revelation to me as well, that Prince William sought assurance that Meghan wouldn't be wearing any of Princess Diana's jewelry on her wedding day to Prince Harry. To me, that instinctually, that makes me feel like Prince William was really nervous about this marriage, and that his mother's jewelry, it's a sacred thing, and that he.
Well, it's more than that. Actually, it's what it is that he is the prince. He would be the oldest son. His wife, when he becomes, as he is now, the Prince of Wales, that jewelry is for his wife, the Princess of Wales. So it's not for a distribution amongst family members. That is for him. And when he's king, he's in control of that jewelry again. It's not to be sort of handed out willy nilly. To be, so a lot of the things that they were wearing, that were actually Diana's, had been given from the royalist, from the Queen's collection. So that would all go back once the Princess of Wales died. All of that went back into the pool for the monarch. And so if you start handing out, so I wanted to wear that and then just keeping it, not suggesting that Meghan would, but if it was the case, then that would be more difficult.
Very good point. I didn't realize that it was just kind of a temporary loan in some cases.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff is priceless, and a lot of this jewelry will get remade into different things over many years. And that's how they maintain having all those jewels.
Oh, incredible!
But
How
equally, that's what the crown jeweler does half the time, is remaking things. I mean, the thing that is different, say, with the Duchess of Windsor, the Duke Duchess of Windsor, that she had all these things made and she kept them all, and then auctioned them off for 50 million or what it was when she died for charity, for cancer charity, I think. But the point is, with the Queen, the royal, it all comes back in, and therefore, and William is the man who's going to inherit all that and be in control of that, not Harry.
Oh, fascinating. You say that Catherine privately calls King Charles grandpa. How sweet is that? Is that not the
Well, I
cutest?
think they used to call him the kids Grandpa Wales. I'm not sure if they now call him Grandpa King, but I think they'd still call him Grandpa Wales. But she would call him Grandpa because, and you can see when he sees her, his eyes light up because she's a solution create. She's someone who comes up with solutions, doesn't create a drama. when he wants to see his grandchildren, she'll make sure it happens. If there's a conflict between him and his son over whatever it is, men getting hot-headed, she's able to smooth it over whatever way. So she's a great facilitator in terms of making things run smoothly, which the king would frankly just, that's all he wants
Yeah.
in the
I mean, you say that
dotage,
he like
what is.
you say he loves her, like he's crazy about her,
And
which
you
I
see
love.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
He thinks she's a daughter he never had. And when they had a private lunch before she went on television to tell everyone about her cancer diagnosis, that was a private lunch. And, you know that they are very close. But it's the point that he can make, she's emotionally mature and she can make things happen that make his life easier, which is, pretty good, I think.
Talk to me about King Charles's relationship with Prince Andrew, because a lot of royal watchers look at the Jeffrey Epstein scandal and think, oh, shouldn't we put him away in a closet and never acknowledge him again? The king encourages him to come to Christmas. While we are hearing reports that he wants to move him into Frogmore and get him out of Royal Lodge, publicly, the king is very kind to Prince Andrew, and we see Prince Andrew and Fergie included in family festivities, especially when it comes to tradition and faith.
He always believed his brother was telling the truth. He was told his brother was telling the truth, so he has to believe that. But as it happened, for the sake of the monarchy, Andrew's had to step aside, and quite rightly, I'm sure he would have liked to have fought his case, but he couldn't. And I think it's right, as family occasions they're included, but it's impossible to have him at public events, really, because the people, he's a pariah when it comes to people. They don't, even though there's been nothing proven against him, people just, after that terrible interview on Newsnight, he's just not, accepted, really,
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
public. So, but that doesn't mean his brother doesn't love him as a brother. But as a king, he can't have anywhere near the crown.
Well, and you say perhaps the king is subliminally trying to show Prince William that forgiving one's brother and giving him a second chance is a strength, not a weakness. I very much could see some, that just, it feels like.
Well, the king, when it's your son, it's very different
to
your brother. As a son, I'm sure he would. Charles and Harry used to have a very good relationship, and it must hurt him terribly that Harry's decided to attack every member of his family. I mean, he didn't really attack the king in his book. He attacked Camilla, and he attacked William, and he attacked everybody else. Really attacked the queen, the king. So it's difficult for the king, really. He must be heartbroken about it all.
I agree. All right, I have one more question for you. When you write about Meghan Markle and Prince William going at it over the comments baby brain, it feels very intense. Do you believe that this was intense, or do you think it was just an awkward conversation?
I think it started as an awkward comment, but then it became intense. I think that, because it's rude, it's terribly rude the way it was said, and insulting. And I think that for someone, because they didn't really like each other or know each other that well, it was a little bit uncalled for, really, and a bit rude. But I think that what this shows is that the two women, why should they have ever got on? I don't really understand why people think they should, just because they're brothers. They're married to two brothers doesn't mean they have to get on. I mean, they're not, they have to be best friends, because they don't. That's just the way it is. You don't always get on with it. Your brother or sister's partner. It's their choice, not yours. But what I found really, Kinsey, on this book is that, I mean, in Europe alone, it's been bought by 19 different publishers and translated into 19 languages, from Lithuanian to Hungarian, Polish, Italian. So what is incredible, and I've not really experienced that level of interest, and that sort of shows you just how popular Catherine is at this time, when she's going through really, pretty rough time. She's been going through it, but yet there's all these different countries are fascinated by her, and fascinated by her story.
Yeah, and I've talked to you about this before, and I asked you if you, after all this research, if you liked her, and you were
yeah, absolutely. I liked her before.
Like, it's crazy not to.
I liked her before, but I think that it's interesting. When I started writing, or was commissioned to write this book about 2021, and then of course everything started to change, and so I moved forward with the book on the king, which I was working on in the background. And so I then came back to this one with about 6 months or so, well, maybe 3 months before the diagnosis was announced. So I've been working on it for a long while. I mean, you couldn't just turn a book like this around in 6 months, or whatever time it would be, because it's a lot more involved. So yeah, I'm proud that we got it out, and I'm glad that so many countries are taking it up to spread the word in their own languages.
You should. You should be very proud. And it is a beautiful reflection of a wonderful woman. And I can't wait to get my hands on my physical copy. And I'm grateful for your time today, Rob Job. I'm a fan of yours, and I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your very blunt honesty when it comes to the future of the brothers, because not a lot of people, everybody's usually.
Well, we can always hope. Look, we always hope, but I think they've locked horns here, and these are two rutting stags that don't particularly look like they want to be mates.
That's so very true. Thank you so much for your time today. August 6th is when Americans can run into their local Barnes and Noble or pre-order on Amazon today.